I'm stuffed. And we're not finished stuffing you full of information either. So next up is our four-way speech contest. Every year we hold a four-way speech contest with the goal of fostering the principles of ethics in everyday life as well as in business. The speech contest is designed to introduce high school students to Rotary and the four-way test by creating interest through a competitive speech contest sponsored by their local Rotary Club. We had several students from across the district compete. It was really tough to narrow down to the four finalists, but we have, and these finalists will present to you today. At this time, will you please welcome Art Leach, the four-way test speech chair, who will introduce you to the finalists.
Greetings, fellow 7360 Rotarians. Art Leach here from the State College Sunrise Rotary Club. It was my pleasure this year to run the four-way test speech contest again, and we had some wonderful participants. Club stepped up and joined in the effort to be able to run the program this year. And we've got 4 great videos for you to watch today for our top 4 finalists. After they're done, we'll come back and tell you who won. I've also created a little short presentation here before the video, so hope you enjoy that as well. Tells you a bit about how we did things and pictures of all our participants. Enjoy the presentations, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye. Greetings, fellow.
Imagine you're scrolling through your favorite social media platform. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. They all have one thing in common. They are contemporary society's #1 double-edged sword, a scale that teeters back and forth between helpfulness and harmfulness. But should we hold it on the pedestal that we keep it on in day-to-day society? Luckily for us, the Rotary gives us a test that can help us answer that very question by asking 4 subsequent ones. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Does it build goodwill and better friendships? And finally, is it beneficial to all concerned? By knowing the answers to each of these questions, we can know the answer to the greater inquiry at hand here. Does social media have a place in our contemporary, high-functioning society? As somebody who uses social media at least once an hour, I only critique it here today to make it better for all of us to enjoy. So, moving on to the first question asked by the Rotary today. Is it the truth? Well, it's a little bit hard to apply that question, so we're going to have to extrapolate just a little bit. What we're working with is a huge, expansive platform that varies from site to site So let's take some examples like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The first thing that comes to my mind when asked, is it the truth, is the term fake news. Not many people don't know what fake news is, but in case you don't, a class at Penn State University researched into and wrote an extensive essay on fake news. And they define it as, quote, fabricated information that mimics news media content in organizational process, but not form or intent. It's wordy, I know, but all it really means is that it's news that is painted to seem real when it is in fact fake. So why do I bring up fake news here? Well, it is said that sites like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, that they have fake news as commonplace. But in recent months, they have enforced a rigorous fact-checking system that has been put to the test. But these are the only sites that it's really been enforced in. Other sites still are far behind on their fact-checking. So, is it the truth? We don't really know, which in part answers this convoluted question. Moving on to the second question asked by the Rotary today, is it fair to all concerned? And preliminarily, I can answer this one with a very confident no. This is for two main reasons, that being for each different kind of social media platform. With sites like Instagram or TikTok, the main problem there are the influencers. These influencers are cherry-picked by the higher-ups of each company and chosen by an algorithm that puts minorities at a disadvantage. They are sat on a pedestal above the rest of us, above common users. With sites like Facebook, our main problem there are the bots. Bots are fake accounts that are used to promote ideas or to boost statistics of another account like likes, follows, shares, etc. Between bots and the influencers that sit above the rest of us, it's very, very clear that social media is not fair to all concerned. Now, the third and easily the hardest question asked by the Rotary in terms of social media today is, does it build goodwill and better friendships? Now, all of us have met amazing people through sites like Facebook or Instagram, bonding over hilarious posts, and timelines are relics of a bygone age that allow friends and family to reminisce over time well spent. And as much as I would love for my favorite apps to build goodwill and better friendships, they failed this portion of the Rotary test. We are in a crisis in America, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard that before. But this crisis is the cyberbullying crisis. The Journal of Adolescent Health released an article that stated that in upwards of 40% of all youth have been the victims of cyberbullying. Not to mention how sites like Instagram or Facebook have become political minefields in recent months, only enforcing our sense of dividedness in a time where we as a nation just can't afford to be any more divided than we already are. So, unfortunately, social media does not build goodwill or better friendships. The last question asked by the Rotary today is it fair to all, or is it beneficial to all concerned? And I can answer this with a confident no. While some of us definitely have had very beneficial times scrolling through our social media feeds, finding useful information or beneficial topics, we can also each think of a time where we were wronged, slighted, or slandered even by our peers on these apps. Not to mention how before the influencers sit far above us and the bots create an unfair atmosphere. Social media is not beneficial to all concerned. The final question now out of the way, our conclusion is clear. Social media does not have a place in modern society, but it's not that easy. It's so beyond ingrained into our day-to-day lives that there's no getting rid of it. And I don't want to give up my favorite accounts too. So what do? Well, we have to make some changes, little by little, maybe by doing things like making cyberbullying intolerable and punishable, or by making fact-checking mandatory for sites other than Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. We can improve social media so that someday it will pass the Rotary test. So my challenge for you today is when you go home and you scroll through your feed, and you see your mean old aunt's post about how she's so unsatisfied with the current political climate or the poor service she received at the restaurant down the street, don't comment on that post. Compliment somebody's post. Leave something nice. You're making the world a better place. Thank you. Imagine you're scrolling.
The summer before my sophomore year, I had the honor of attending the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, sponsored by the Lewisburg Sunrise Rotary. It was a 4-day-long program of leadership building and networking at Juniata College. While we were there, Carol Metzger, who is the author of Facing the Monster, How One Person Can Fight Child Slavery, gave us a presentation on human trafficking. She opened up her presentation with a question: what is human trafficking? I raised my hand and I said, the illegal transport of a person for profit. And it wasn't until Miss Metzger's response that I realized how little I had known about human trafficking. Miss Metzger responded. She said, actually, it doesn't need to involve transport. The definition of human trafficking, she continued, is the exploitation of a person for commercial sex or labor. Now, this definition was revelatory to me. It sounded like something that could happen in my community, even in my own high school. And when I did some more research on it, I learned that not only does it happen in my community, but the rates of trafficking in my community are much higher than most other places in the country. I learned that the most common form of trafficking isn't abduction, but coercion. I had had this image in my head, to put it rather bluntly, of a young girl walking down a street and a white van pulls up and kidnaps her. But the reality of trafficking is that most people are trafficked by their parents, their coworkers, and their romantic partners. I learned that the average age of victims entering commercial sexual exploitation is 12 to 13 years old, and that right now, hundreds of thousands of people are being trafficked in the United States. And I had had no idea. And I think this highlights an important caveat in the word truth, because when we ask ourselves to live truthfully, we commit to not lying. But where does misinformation fall on that spectrum? More complex, where does ignorance lie? I like to think that I live a truthful life, but I do think a big part of being truthful is being informed. To be completely honest, my ignorance shocked me. It made me think, does my ignorance make me an untruthful person? The conclusion I came to is, of course not. We are not obligated to know everything about everything. That is not what truth is about. But truth is about constantly committing ourselves to learn, to be open to new information, to acknowledge when we are wrong or when we have misled others. And this brings me to fair. Because is it fair that I had the privilege to walk around oblivious to what is happening in my own community? Is it fair that if a child runs away more than 3 times, they have an 80% higher chance of being trafficked? Is it fair that those already fighting homelessness, addiction, racism, xenophobia, and ableism are far more at risk of being trafficked? Of course it's not fair. So I, along with Susie Vo, who is a good friend of mine, started Teach Against Trafficking. Teach Against Trafficking is a youth-led movement that uses education to combat trafficking. Because we realized that the first step to ending human trafficking is being aware of it. We realized that our friends, our family members, our community members might be in the same boat that we were in just 19 months ago, unaware. We wanted to shed light on an issue near and dear to our community because the truth is human trafficking is happening right in front of us. By fighting for those experiencing homelessness, for those struggling with addiction, for racial justice for Black and Brown communities, for equitable housing for immigrants and low-income workers, and for reform of the justice system, we will build goodwill and better friendships with our neighbors and ensure that the systems we replace are beneficial to all concerned. We are being given the opportunity to not just end human trafficking, but to resist systemic inequality, improving the lives of not just those who are victims of commercial sexual exploitation, but those struggling to make ends meet every day. One thing we teach in the program we developed is how to use the human trafficking hotline. In her presentation, Ms. Metzger noted that often people are hesitant to report suspected trafficking through the human trafficking hotline because they don't want to waste anyone's time. But she told us that she once spoke to a police chief who said, "I'd so much rather interrupt a family's life for a few days with questions than have to tell someone that their child is dead." So I'd like to end today with an ask. I'd like to ask you to look up the human trafficking hotline and add it to your own personal contacts so you have it readily available in case you suspect trafficking. This was my first step as well. I hope that together as a society, we can continue taking these steps, both small and large, towards ending human trafficking. Thank you.
We've all heard the phrase, photos don't lie, but is that still true in today's digital age? With all the advanced photo editing technology readily available to both companies and individuals, how can we be sure that we are providing the best possible representation of our products while still using these applications ethically? Sure, photos don't lie, but they do have a tendency to bend the truth. Today, I will be using the Rotary 4-way test to determine 2 possible solutions that will help businesses ethically utilize Photoshop. We can determine ways that we can ethically utilize Photoshop by looking to see what other countries have begun to do. According to Global Citizen, in 2017, France required that Photoshopped images be labeled. The United Kingdom has banned overly airbrushed photos and taken steps to ensure the physical and mental health of their models. Other countries like Spain, Italy, and Israel have taken steps to impose regulations on their models' body type. That includes sending overly thin models home. However, I'm specifically speaking of the regulations of Photoshop in America, where many businesses prefer a more laissez-faire approach to government intervention. Is it right that the government should have the right to determine what body type should be seen in the media? I believe that this responsibility should fall on the businesses to impose their own regulations on photo manipulation. But how can we do so ethically while maintaining these ideals and, most importantly, satisfying the conditions in the Rotary 4-way test? I believe that American businesses should have individuals sign waivers before the edited photos of people are released. Pennsylvania's right of publicity statute requires waivers to publish people in private places for commercial use in order to protect the subject's likeness. But is it not true that Photoshop can be damaging to a person's likeness? In November 2017, Zendaya, a famous singer-actress, was disappointed to find that her photo was heavily edited for the cover of Modelist magazine. According to Time magazine, the then 19-year-old made a post on Instagram stating her discomfort with the way she was edited, posting the original photo alongside the edited one, clearly showing that the editors changed her body proportions and her skin tone. Zendaya has been known to speak out against makeup or photo editing, so the altered photo could have endangered both her career and her image, in multiple senses of the word. But this problem doesn't just affect Hollywood celebrities. According to the Vatican files, in 2011, Pope Benedict XVI was photoshopped kissing an imam, or a leader of prayer in a Muslim mosque. This photo was released as part of an ad campaign with the goal of uniting cultures. However, it had a rather inverse effect when the Vatican immediately expressed its displeasure with the ad, saying that it violated the Pope's image and dignity. Neither the Pope nor any other individual depicted in this campaign were informed about these images before they were released to the public. Zendaya and the Pope are not alone in being photoshopped without their consent. What is unique about their experience is that they spoke out against what was being done to them and countless other influential figures in the media. Neither of the figures saw the edited photos before they were released to the public. Their likeness was damaged, but there was little that they could do about it, given the way they perceived themselves to their audiences. This shows that these altered images can hurt careers without waivers, showing that it is true that waivers would be beneficial to the problem that is Photoshop. Is it fair to all concerned? Waivers may help with unsolicited Photoshop, but models may still feel pressured to sign releases for the sake of their careers. At this point, it is the ethical responsibility of the company to limit Photoshop while still providing the best possible representation of their product. Companies should remember that the model is not the product being sold while editing photographs. I believe that if American businesses take after the French model and also require photos to state that they have been altered on the physical copy, it would protect not just the individual depicted in the photo, but also the general public, specifically children, and be the fairest to all concerned. Will it spread goodwill and better friendship? According to the Harvard Strategic Team Initiative for the Prevention of Eating Disorders, or STRIPED, a lack of media literacy in children can lead to harmful eating disorders like anorexia and bulimia. Most adolescents know that these photos are being edited but aren't quite aware of the extent to which these fabrications can go. According to the Park Nicolette Melrose Center, sociocultural factors such as photo manipulation start influencing body dissatisfaction at age 6. This media influence is seen in almost half elementary age girls and a quarter of elementary age boys who are dissatisfied with their weight. The Girl Scouts of America conducted a survey of girls between ages 13 and 17, finding that despite 65% of surveyed respondents believing the ideal body type as depicted by the fashion industry is too thin, over 60% still compare themselves to fashion models, with 46% believing this is the body type they should strive for. These studies and surveys show how altered images affect adolescents of all ages and harm goodwill. At this point in my research, my first thought was that this was an incredibly weak contention, because everyone knows that Photoshop can be damaging to self-image, harm goodwill and friendships, and lead to eating disorders in youth. At this point, as the responsible leaders in Rotary International, we need to take a step back and consider why. If everyone knows how harmful these applications can be, have we not begun to take action? In order to truly be beneficial to all concerned, we should be striving for what is ethical rather than settling for what is acceptable. By labeling edited photos, we would promote a more realistic approach to basing body type off the media. Is it beneficial to all concerned? By analyzing how altered images hurt both the individual and the general public, we determined how to ethically edit photos on 2 fronts. Waivers protect the individual by ensuring that a person's likeness or branding cannot be tampered with, but labels protect the general public, specifically children, by promoting media literacy, and therefore are the fairest and most beneficial to all concerned. We do not need to cease using Photoshop altogether. That would be completely unrealistic, but by using waivers and labels, we can use these applications more responsibly, especially since it satisfies the criteria in the Rotary 4-way test. Thank you. When you think of horses, what do you think of? Farming, pony rides, or you could think big like the Equestrian Olympics. When I think of a horse, I see a magnificent creature with power, agility, grace, and most of all, spirit. I was thinking how I can incorporate horses into a speech. I love horses, and I saw the Rotary 4-way speech contest as the perfect fit. Now, I have the opportunity to show you all how horses help people and fit the 4 Rotary rules. Is it the truth? Is it fair? Will build goodwill and better friendships? And finally, will it be beneficial to all concerned? I am an intern and volunteer at Big Maple Farms Natural Therapies, which is an equine-assisted riding program. I am also part of the Animal Science 4-H Club. I've seen how horses help people and myself for the past 6 years. First, is it the truth? It has been proven that horses help build self-esteem and self-confidence. They improve motivation to finish goals and tasks and help you overcome new goals. But that's just statistics. I want you to know how horses help people based on research and my peer group experience. Horses have amazing memory. It's been proven that they remember smells, people, and different experiences from the past. Even though our minds might be similar, we are so different. Horses can't think ahead, they don't have a humor or an ego and greed. Being around these animals that think here in the now can help humans be in the present. They help you understand the point of being content in the now and to remember the important things of life. For example, a group of riders were going on a trail ride. The trail ride took a lot longer than expected, so they ended up getting caught in the dark. My friend was a little nervous to trust her horse with his surroundings because he was half blind, but she had to trust him because horses have better sense and visions than humans. The trail ride group made it home safe and sound in the pitch black. What was the takeaway? To be able to trust and to think in the present like horses do. They help you understand everything that we take for granted. Horses give us the truth about them. Is it fair? There's a program called Equine Assisted Riding. It's proven that kids with disabilities can learn how to talk, gain motor skills, and socialize with horses and volunteers. I'm going to tell you an example of a little boy named Fred. Fred was just a toddler whenever he came to the program. He had a stroke, so his whole half of his body was paralyzed. He couldn't speak, move his arm or leg, or even sit up on his own. We had him on our most gentle pony in hopes that doing the lessons would help him live a long, good life. He eventually made more progress, and we helped him grab objects, walk, and learn to socialize with our horses and volunteers. Today, Fred is talking sentences, running and playing with other kids, and living life as an adolescent child. Seeing as where he came from, and that even kids with disabilities and the hardest lives can make strides to have a relationship with horses, I conclude that this question is thoroughly answered. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? I've witnessed many kids make horses your best friend because of horses. For example, there's a girl named Julie. Julie was 13 when she joined our local 4-H club. She was very quiet and shy, and she didn't have a lot of friends. She tries to be the best person she can be and help everyone she can, but working with her horse taught her a lot. It taught her to be patient, compassionate, and to never give up and keep going no matter what life throws you and knocks you down. My other example is of a boy named Logan. Logan just turned 8 in December and has a pony named Beauty, who is his best friend. Before, Logan didn't have many friends, and he didn't exactly like my classmates. He always hid behind his mom or dad whenever I asked him questions, and whenever he first started working with Beauty, he wouldn't stay out long. Now, Logan will ride for an hour, he answers my questions with confidence, and he stands for himself. Seeing as where he came from, that is a huge accomplishment. These two stories show how horses can build amazing friendships and learn everything new from them. Finally, is it beneficial to all concerned? I'm going to read you an excerpt from the website horseadaptiveriding.org. It states, quote, "Participants can enjoy a number of physical and neurological benefits due to the rhythmic, repetitive motion of a horse's gait. In addition, class participation can increase trunk strength and balance, improve sensory integration, and expand mobility and flexibility," end quote. It's been proven that horses help sensory and motory skills and improve physical and mental well-being. They give you a responsibility to take care of an animal that requires a lot more work than any other, and to understand them even though we don't speak the same language. I'm going to give you one more example story for you. It's actually my story. I was 10 years old when I started working with horses after I joined my 4-H group. Before I started working with these animals, I was scared, awkward, and anxious to even order my own meal at McDonald's. When I first went out to see my new partner, I wouldn't go in a 2-feet radius of her. She taught me patience, how to care for other living things, and how to be a good person and to be open to change. I benefited by being on my feet more and thinking about decisions before I make them. I've worked with many horses since then, and they all teach me new things every single time I step in the barn. Recalling from my personal experience of how horses benefited my life, we now know that horses can help people in more ways than we can ever imagine. Now that I've enlightened you all about horses help people and fit the 4 Rotary rules, I will leave you with a quote. "There's something about the outside of a horse that is good for the inside of a man," by Winston Churchill. This quote by the great man himself signifies a lot to me. It signifies that a horse does something so amazing to a person that they change as a whole. They make a person better. And I proved that all by the people I told you about today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you to all of the finalists. Those were excellent speeches. I am so glad I am and was not a judge. To announce the winner, though, I'd like to introduce you one more time to Art Leach. Art?
Hey, everybody. Wow. Every year I hear these speeches. Every year I am just totally blown away by the message and the poise and how well they articulate. I mean, just so wonderful. Unfortunately, most of our speech contest finalists couldn't be with us today. Just to give you a little introduction to all of them. One young lady, Allison Rose Sue, she is from the Selinsgrove Rotary Club. She is interested in the arts and business and literature. She is the forensics president and FBLA treasurer of the club. She's a member of the National Honor Society, National Spanish Honor Society, and the Tri-M Music Honor Society, and she wants to study management and business administration. Emily Truslow, she is from the Johnsonburg Rotary Club, and of course you can tell she is interested in riding horses, her 4-H club, reading and painting. And we also then have Katie Jacobson. She is from the Lewisburg Sunrise Club, and she's interested in a lot of stuff too. Of course, you can tell she's passionate about human trafficking, immigration rights, social justice, and she likes writing and journalism as well. And then I believe maybe Benjamin might be with us. Can we bring Benjamin up here? There he is. Hi, Benjamin.
Hi there. Sorry I'm not as dressed up as you guys. Can you hear me fine?
Just fine, yes.
Awesome.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Benjamin Lehau. I'm from Clearfield, Pennsylvania, right in the middle of PA. I'm in 11th grade this year, 17 years old. I have 2 wonderful little sisters, Addison and Avenel. I'm in Boy Scouts. I've been the senior patrol leader in my local troop for 2 years. I'm really interested in the arts, music, performing arts, things of that nature. And I plan on going to a college to attend a 4-year degree in business, probably studying English as well. And I still have yet to solidify some of the rest of my plans, but that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Benjamin. All right, well, good. So out of the 4 finalists that we have 2 finalists there, and that's Emily and Allison. So we'll be sending Emily and Allison their awards and certificates. The trophies are coming, so they'll be in the mail as well. Our second runner-up, that is Katie Jacobson. Again, she will also receive a trophy, an award, and so forth. And of course, Benjamin, who is with us. Benjamin, you have won this year. Congratulations. Wonderful job. Very impressive speech. We're so glad you did it this year. And as you are a junior, we hope you will come back and do this again with us next year.
I might just have to. Thank you so much, Art. That's means the world to me.
Great. Awesome. Well, good. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. That pretty much concludes the 4-way test speech program for this year. As you know, it was challenging, but like I said, a lot of clubs stepped up. They held the local contests remotely for the most part, and then we did the videotaping as well in one location. Thanks to Ken again for arranging that for us. So that's everything I have. So back to the main stage.
Well, congratulations, Benjamin. Thank you very much, Art Leach, for hanging out with us today. Congratulations to all of the finalists. We will be back here live on the stage at 2 p.m. for my presentation. So make sure you show back up for that. And hopefully I can compare it to the wonderful finalists as part of the 4-way speech contest. We'll see you then.